Hey everybody, I'm Kate Conroy.
And I'm Vinnie.
And this is Other People's Business, which is the podcast from the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, which is the largest business association in the country. For more info on us, visit njbia.org. We release a new episode every other Wednesday, so be on the lookout. Shout out to New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance. They provide home, auto, and workers' comp insurance, and they're the official sponsor of the show, so check them out if you need some insurance.
Okay, so just a couple housekeeping matters. Our show drops every other Wednesday, just like she said. You can catch it on iTunes, Google Play, really wherever you can view a podcast, we're going to be there. If you're not into the whole podcast scene, you don't want to have to figure out how to download one of those, we're on YouTube. You can catch our smiling faces every other Wednesday. Either way, we'd really encourage you to subscribe. So, it can be really rough remembering to come in every other week and catch the show. But if you subscribe at njbia.org/subscribe, then they'll send you a notification whenever we're new. So with us today is Emeka Oguh of PeopleJoy. Say hi and let the audience hear your voice.
Hey, everybody.
All right.
Hey, where'd you come from today?
I came from Philadelphia today.
Thanks for making the commute. My gosh, that's a drive. How long did that take?
It's about 45 minutes.
I always forget how close we are to Philly.
Not too far.
Yeah.
I'm from North Jersey, so from North Jersey, Philly is like an hour and a half. It just takes way too long.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm from North Jersey as well, so when I'm taking that, so my parents live in, family lives in Union Township,
nice.
so when I make that drive, it's about an hour 45 minutes.
I love Union.
Yeah.
My
Nice.
mechanic is in Union.
Okay.
Yeah. Should I do a show?
Hopefully it wasn't mine, because
should.
I had a Union mechanic that wasn't too good.
Really?
I'm not gonna throw him under the bus, but
Mine is Belford Automatics.
not
and
them.
they're awesome.
So you're in good hands.
Okay, good.
What happened to your car that you determined that your mechanic was not so good?
So I went to get the radiator cleaned. Apparently my radiator needs to be cleaned. It was
Sounds like a pretty simple thing.
very simple thing.
Yeah.
And so I got it cleaned, and at this time I'm living in Bloomfield so I had a roommate in Bloomfield.
I love Bloomfield. I lived in
is
Bloomfield.
awesome.
I know.
Yeah, I'm going to work one day. Actually, I was traveling, and then I get a call from my roommate at the time that my car was in the mechanic. This was after I had gotten the radiator fixed, and he said antifreeze was leaking into the car from the radiator. So called my mechanic. He got it towed. Then he told me that it wasn't from the radiator and that I had to pay $300 for the tow, and then the work to be done. So that's that story. So stopped going to him after
awful.
that. Yeah.
I had a problem with the dealer once where they did a basic oil change and they forgot to put the cap back on. And so, as I was driving, oil was splashing all over, the inside. I don't know anything about cars, but whatever it would splash onto, the engine, whatever. And then, just leaking out onto my the driveway. It took us a while, because I'm not a car person, to figure out what that little puddle was underneath the car in my driveway. But yeah, it was awful.
Yeah.
It's such a simple mistake,
Right.
but important not to make,
Very.
Yeah.
Very important. All right, so today's icebreaker is, have you ever completed anything on your bucket list?
I have. So one of the things on my bucket list was to visit Australia.
Ooh.
And my wife and I visited Australia last year for our 5-year anniversary, and it was amazing.
Really?
So one of the things, it's Australia takes a while to get to. It's about a 16-hour flight. So it's one of those things that you have to plan for well in advance.
Yeah.
But
Can you do
well
that
worth
one
the
shot?
Did you fly direct?
Did we fly direct? We had a layover going there and the layover back. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think there are flights going direct. You have to go from Houston or down in the south to fly.
Really?
Yeah.
Nobody
They
flies
just-
direct from here?
No, they just launched those, I think, last year, the direct Australia flights.
That's interesting.
Yeah, then you were probably better off just, letting that work itself out for a little while, getting the kinks out.
Yep.
Anything new like that, I'm okay with the layover. Let's take some time to regroup. Yeah.
Okay, so yes. I was going to argue with you, but...
Do you really want to be the first person to take the flight from, New Jersey to
I
Australia?
really don't. I really don't. But I did just take the United Airlines, shout out to United, from Newark, not like JFK or LaGuardia, to Tokyo. It was a direct 14-hour flight, and it was great. I have nothing bad to say about it. It was easy. It was on time. Really great. So I'm curious, how long did you stay in Australia?
We were there for 9 days.
Okay, right. So 15-hour flight, you want to make it...
You want to make it worth your
Yeah,
while.
and the time difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And once you're out there, you just want to sort of stay up until nighttime so you can actually get adjusted to the time frame. So honestly, the jet lag didn't feel that that bad. I was pretty surprised. I feel more jet lag when I'm flying over to SF than I felt when I was.
What's
and
SF?
San Francisco.
San Francisco. Okay, I'm like, I think I know what that means,
Yeah,
but
because I felt that.
I don't fly enough.
Yeah, so it wasn't too bad. But when we were out there, it was amazing. We went to Sydney. We went to the Great Barrier Reef. We went to Ayers Rock, which is right in the Great Outback, as they call it. Right in the middle of the desert, camping under the stars. Almost got attacked by a wild dingo. Luckily, we did not. But,
that
sounds so made up.
Yeah, so it's funny because we're camping.
Yeah.
So we did. It was in Australia, obviously, a country and a continent. So the first stop, Sydney. It's almost like being in New York or San Francisco, very well developed, etc. You honestly didn't really feel like we were in another country. And then the Great Barrier Reef is obviously it's amazing. I encourage everybody, if you have a chance, go see it because it's not going to be around. Apparently, it's going to be gone in our lifetime.
Really?
Yeah, just with the pollution and everything. But also amazing experience, but very different, right? You're out there, you're near the water. So, we're snorkeling, we're diving, doing all that good stuff. That was fun. And then Uluru, we were literally, you're out in the desert, you're huffing it. So we go from hotels to literally camping in a sleeping bag with no tent. And so you're exposed. You're out in the outdoors, and we would have these campfires. And apparently, wild dingoes love heat, and they think that they look at humans as part of the pack. So at night, we sit in a circle, right, sort of to kind of protect and circle. That night, though, my wife and I was it was a broken circle, so it was more like a question mark instead of a circle. We were the dot. And so we're close to the fire. And then all of a sudden out the bushes, we hear barking from far. You always hear them at night, but then this dog just emerges out of the bushes to get close to the fire. And, it's, you think all these things, you play all these scenarios out in your mind of what you would actually do when a wild dingo, God, yell, I'm going to scream, I'll fight, whatever you did. All that goes out the window. You're cowering in your sleeping bag.
Sleeping bag over your head. No!
Can I ask a dumb question? What does a dingo look like? Like, I don't even have a visual. Like, what kind of a thing am I... Because you said a dog. Does it look like a dog?
It looks like a dog. So it's like a wild dog.
Like a coyote?
They're a little bigger than that, a little more muscular than that. But we unfortunately, it was dark. I didn't really get a chance to, and I wasn't really trying to.
No, get closer now.
I was almost trying to play dead, but not really dead. Make a couple sounds so it knows, like, hey, there's somebody here. Don't go over and be curious. So that happened. And then another thing about Australia. So in Sydney, the weirdest thing is the way we have birds here. So at night you see flocks of birds. At night in Sydney, there's flocks of bats.
Oh God.
Yeah. So sorry, not Sydney. In the Great Barrier Reef.
Oh.
So we're there at night, and all of a sudden you look up in the sky, and it's literally black with bats. They're fruit bats, though, so they're not vampire bats or anything like that. But it takes a while to sort of
Just
that would be terrifying.
And the lifespans of some of these can be like 4 or 5 feet.
What?
So it's terrifying. Yeah.
Bats are the sort of thing that if you ask the average person if they're scared of bats, they're gonna say no. Like nobody's got like a fear of bats.
No.
But when it's in front of you and there's 200 of them and they've got just 5 foot wingspan,
exactly.
No.
That's like the size of a cat. Because if you think about a 5 foot wingspan, the body.
That's the size of like.
It's a newborn baby. No.
Like you're around the 5 foot mark, right?
Yeah, I'm 5'0".
So a bat the size of you.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no.
It can get pretty. Yeah, it gets pretty intense, and the first night when you're looking at these. They say it's fruit bats, but you don't know. Is one of them going to run into me? It's going to bite. But it was fine. But yeah, I don't know if I'm selling Australia right now or
I've always
with wild
heard,
dingoes and bats, but it is beautiful. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience.
So I've always heard that Australia is amazing and beautiful and wonderful, but like it is the kind of place where you could like get killed, like the scorpion or some kind of spider, some random thing that we just don't have here.
Right.
You'll just die because
it's like it's like Jumanji. You ever seen
Jumanji?
With Robin Williams and
yes.
all these things coming out that can
I remember watching some episode of Steve Irwin's show, and he was handling this thing called the bird-eating spider, and he was like deliberately trying to make it angry so that we could see what would happen if like it did get angry. So it was like, I'm going to stick my thumb right up in here, and like he does this, and this thing starts like, I know I'm terrible. So this thing starts like spraying these
gosh.
it's like
venom, probably.
not venom. It's like porcupine quills. Like it's spraying them, and it's getting in his mouth. And he's like choking and coughing because he's like, yeah, it's getting. I'm gonna try to do it again. It's getting in my throat. No, I'm really bad. I can't do it. So like, I'm like, wow, this thing is killing you on the air. Like, stop.
That is insane.
Yeah, it's like the kind of stuff that just like walks around out there. At least that we think.
Yeah, the things we do for likes these days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Oh my God.
How about you? What have you done on your bucket list?
Oh, it was sort of accidental. So I was in Japan with some friends in the Shinjuku district, and we walked by a karaoke place, like one of those places where you can rent a room and do karaoke, and it sounds like really professional, and they bring you drinks, and it's like this private, comfortable room. We did that on a whim, but I was the driving force behind that, and I didn't realize it until we were halfway through that it was like a bucket list thing. Like it's not something that I would have thought to put on my bucket list, but I was like, I was so happy to have done it. It felt amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was great.
Cool.
Yeah, what about you?
I've done a lot of stuff on the bucket list. So I went skydiving. And
wow, how's that?
Great. Wouldn't do it again. You could say you've done it. You've crossed that one off. It's gone. Right. I've gone overseas. I would say the biggest thing that I've done on my bucket list that was like the hardest. So are you aware of what IMDb is? Like the Internet Movie Database?
Yes.
So you
I don't
rate
live
movies.
under a rock, so.
Yeah, no, some people don't. So you rate movies, and as you do it, the community has like certain ratings, and as that happens, they aggregate the top 250 like greatest movies of all time as rated by all of the users.
Oh.
So it took me like a year and a half, but I saw all 250. So I just went through one by one, skipping the ones that I've already seen and loved. But yeah, like it took a while. And I got introduced to a lot of stuff I wouldn't have watched otherwise, and
That's really
new
cool
favorites
idea.
and all that. Yeah.
Did you rent or buy them, or how
I took a lot of them out of the library, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, but
were they mostly ones that you'd heard of, or were any of them
some I
obscure?
hadn't heard at all. But yeah, like remember when we were talking many episodes ago about like Feud, Betty and Joan?
Yeah.
So Whatever Happened to Baby Jane was one
Yeah.
that I watched like that. All About Eve, speaking of Betty Davis, is another great one.
Those
Sunset
are-
Boulevard I had never seen, and that's one of my favorites now. So.
Nice.
Yeah, Casablanca. A lot of these things that, like, as a movie fan, I should have seen, growing up. But, like, you watch the same, like, 5-10 movies just over and over again. Like,
like
I've seen
comfort
Back
food.
to the Future, like, 300 times.
Yeah.
It's my favorite movie, but...
It's like comfort food.
Yeah, exactly.
You know you love it.
Right.
Yeah.
You have certain go-tos. Yeah.
Did you see that meme? My God, I can't even remember where I saw it, but I saw it today. It was about settling down on a Friday night or Saturday night to watch a movie entails scrolling through Netflix for like an hour and then choosing a movie you've seen already and scrolling through your phone for, another 2 hours while you listen to it.
Credit where credit is due, because she's going to watch this. That was Vicky.
Nice! You're right, it was! Vicky, shout out to Fat Girl Chronicles,
Yeah.
Vicky White!
Yeah.
Yes! Sorry, I didn't mean to yell. Totally. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Love it. Okay. So I think that was the
Sure.
icebreaker.
So, Emeka, tell us what you do at, what is it, PeopleJoy?
PeopleJoy. So at PeopleJoy, we help employers attract, retain, and engage talent using student loan assistance as an employee benefit. For those folks who aren't aware, student loans is currently at $1.5 trillion in outstanding student debt, impacting over 44 million Americans. My wife and I are two of those Americans that were impacted.
Yeah.
Between the two of us, we graduated with a combined $400,000.
Wow.
in student debt.
Jesus. Oh my God.
A lot of debt. And so, for me, I was one of those folks coming out of school. I went to Rutgers undergrad. Luckily enough to come out of undergrad with no debt. Avid saver, maxing out my 401k, participating in my employee stock purchase plan, etc. All that stopped after business school when I came out with $120,000 in student loans.
Yeah.
Between the loans, between renting an apartment in New York, between saving up for a wedding and a ring for my girlfriend, now wife, not a lot left to actually put to his retirement.
Of course.
And so when you look at the larger demographic of folks with student loans, obviously 400,000 is a little extreme, but the average person's coming out with 30, 40,000. They're not able to save for retirement either. And so what we've done is designed a program where employees can, one, give a matching contribution to help their employees can give a matching contribution to help their employees pay off their debt faster, or provide a platform where they can give education and guidance to help them navigate the different federal loan programs out there that provide relief, as well as refinancing through lower repayment rates and different services to help give people ways to lower their debt payments.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you guys are doing the Lord's good work.
Seriously.
So, you know.
So, for instance, BIA matches, right? So let's say they match 8%. If I had a lot of student loan debt, I paid mine off. I'm old though. But if I still had it, I could ask them to like put that 8% toward my student loan debt, like to match.
Right, exactly. So very similar to how a 401k match works, the student loan repayment plan works very similarly. So on average, employers are giving anywhere from $50 to $100 a month. So typically it's a fixed contribution where they'll cap it. So you're looking at $1,200 a year. The difference between a student loan repayment assistance and a 401k match is that the student loan repayment is taxable. So it's not going to be a one-to-one in that sense. It would go under a different bucket.
Sure.
But the concept is the same as far as they can do a percentage match or they can do a fixed contribution.
That's amazing.
Where do you guys step into the scenario? Because like, let's say she says like BIA matches the 8%, they could just do that.
Right.
So
that's a great question.
Yeah.
So we get that a lot from employers. One, well, why can't I manage this myself? So
Right.
if you look at sort of number of different
I was
service
worried about
areas-
asking
right.
that exact question because I was like, I don't want this to be a promotion for you that turns into a why you shouldn't go with them.
Yeah. It's a fair question. One is just ease of use. As far as making payments to a student loan, it's not as easy as it would. With Venmo and PayPal, there's everybody sort of uses this rapid payment functionality. That doesn't work in the student loan space.
Right.
A lot of times you're still using check, you're still picking up the phone and making calls, et cetera. And the way loans are set up, your employee may have 3 or 4 different loans. And within one loan, they may have 3 or 4 different sub-loans. And so being able to manage those payments and handle and track those as an employer, on top of the millions of other things you have to do on a daily basis, it just isn't scalable. And so we're able to do that in a pretty seamless fashion and make it plug and play.
Wow, so you're like the administrator.
Exactly.
That's amazing. How long have you been doing that?
2 years.
Wow. And is it relatively easy to pitch to employers and get them to understand how their employees are going to love this?
I think it is. I mean, when we first started 2 years ago, it was a fairly new concept, and it took a while for folks to wrap their heads around.
Yeah.
I think when you turn on the news today, student loans is one of the big topics. Any person coming out of school, well into their 30s, 40s, is struggling with student debt. You have parents who've taken out debt for their kids, so it's really top of mind now. One of the great things I think about New Jersey is they recently passed the STEM loan redemption bill, which essentially the state is going to make a matching contribution to any money that an employer puts towards their employee student loans. They have specific fields within STEM, so with Governor Murphy's push to really increase the number of STEM talent in New Jersey, attract and retain talent in New Jersey, and obviously folks are coming out with a ton of student debt. This is something that a bill the state recently passed to help stimulate growth and stimulate more companies offering this benefit. So
interesting. Wow, I'm loving the concept.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard a lot. BIA. I want to find the right way to say this. We advocate for a lot of different issues, and one of them that we're always talking about is how employers want to give great benefits to their employees. You want to have that attractive package.
Yeah, employee retention.
Yeah, I'm thinking coming out of college, if I saw something like that on the table, that would be an easy jump because, thankfully, like you, I finished paying everything off. But that was scary in the beginning there because get, what is it, like the 6 months before you got to start paying it back, and that's just terrifying.
And I went to state school. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't go to some expensive college, and for my master's, I had an assistantship, so I had my tuition was paid for, and I got a stipend. But I still had to take student loans because rent. Do you know what I mean? Like groceries. There was nobody that was going to come and help with that, and it was tough.
And the cost of school, has just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Even in the last 10 years, tuition has doubled, and wages haven't caught up with that. And so you have a situation where when you adjust for inflation, wages have grown maybe 21% in the last 30 years, but the cost of tuition has skyrocketed. And so with today's generation, they're really squeezed. Because obviously you want to go to college to increase your earning power, to increase your job opportunities, but you're coming out saddled with debt. And so it really hurts your chances to save for retirement. It increases stress, which obviously leads to health issues a myriad of problems. And I think, Vin, you said it earlier, employers want to help. They want to make a contribution. The challenge sometimes, though, is the funding costs. Right. So especially because it is a taxable benefit, how do I, as an employer, come up with the funds? The reality is that if you look at the $1.5 trillion of student debt, 93% is owed to Uncle Sam, to the federal government. So they
FAFSA, right?
So the government essentially, if you look at
that acronym.
If you look at the,
I got a hot flash that ran
FAFSA form, right. So you fill out that form, and then they essentially decide how much they'll give you in aid, how much you can take out in loans, and there's varying interest rates depending on if you're an undergrad or you're graduate. There's Parent Plus loans, there's Grad Plus loans, there's Perkins loans, there's Stafford loans, there's tons of different loans. The one benefit of the fact that the government owns that there are federal relief programs out there that don't require an employer contribution, where the government will either help you with repayment assistance, so they'll pay some of your interest back, they'll help you lower your payments, or they'll even give you loan forgiveness within 10 to 25 years. And this is out there. The challenge is that most people don't know how to enroll in these programs or maintain their eligibility in these programs. So in fact, just last year, 99% of the folks who applied for public service loan forgiveness, which essentially will cancel your loans if you work at a nonprofit, were rejected.
Oh my God.
99% were rejected. For incorrect paperwork, for being in the wrong type of loan, for not understanding eligibility requirements. So you have these programs that are out there in the federal government that will give you relief, but folks don't know how to access them and don't understand the necessary requirements for them. So that's another service that we've started looking to address, is helping people understand what's out there for them and giving them step-by-step guidance on how to actually get access to that.
That's amazing. I'm so impressed that you did that. Like, you really just saw a problem and you're like, I can fix that.
Like, I like the name of the company, PeopleJoy, because it is. Like, it is bringing joy to people by taking away this crushing responsibility that they have in their lives.
Yeah. So when we were on the phone before you came in, we were talking about a story you were telling me about your mom and your first job. Can you tell that story? Because it just makes my heart so warm and fuzzy.
Absolutely. So I started working when I was 14. And, I wanted to buy video games and Jordans, right? I was a 14-year-old kid, right?
Well, be honest, I love it.
And, my parents were pretty cheap. And it's like, this is how much we're going to spend on sneakers and how much we're going to spend on video games. Beyond that, you figure it out. So I said, you know what, I will. So the minute I graduated 8th grade, I got my worker's permit. At the time, you had to, parents had to sign off and give you permission to go out and work. Then I ended up getting a job at a school in Newark. So I would take the bus from Union to Newark, every day after school and over that summer. And so my first check, I'm 14, I need to go someplace to cash it. So my mom says, you need a bank account. And so we go to a bank and, I cash this check and, I'm thinking of all the things that I should do with it. And she tells me, you should buy a savings bond with that. And at the time, being 14 and wanting...
The sexiest person.
I know, right?
Right. It's like,
In God's name would I do that?
I totally want to do this, right? And so she's telling me about Series I bonds and Series E bonds and, how you could earn 6% on these, which nowhere near, the rates aren't anywhere near that high these days. But
I know,
back then,
I checked.
It was, right. And so, I'm looking at it. Okay, I'm gonna put $100 into this right now. I'm gonna get $106 in a year. Why? Right? Like, explain to me why that would be compelling to me. And then she starts telling me about compounding interest and how every year over year, that $106 will now compound to 6%, and it just grows. And she convinced me. I bought a savings bond with my first check, and every so often I will continue to buy those savings bonds. And that really taught me, I think, the miracle of compounding interest.
The miracle.
I love it.
Where it works for you if you're investing, if you're putting towards investments, but it works against you if you have debt, right? So just as well as it can compound quickly when your interest grows through savings, it also compounds, with student debt, and that interest capitalizes. But, throughout high school, I worked at this job, and it really came to me when, for my senior year of high school, my prom, I actually cashed out some of those savings bonds to help with it, and the money had grown. It had grown to an amount where it helped with that, and that really was what set the path for me of understanding compounding interest, personal finance, and financial wellness, which is really, I think, the goal of PeopleJoy is to help people just really understand the basics of finance. It's not something that's taught to you in school, right? I never learned compounding interest in high school.
Me neither.
I learned it in college. It was something that either if your parents aren't teaching you, you learn from the school of hard knocks, right?
That's right.
You learn from getting that credit card, having $5,000 on it, and paying the minimum monthly payment, and not knowing why that balance never goes down when you're making payments every month.
Yeah.
It's because of compounding interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, we my wife, she got her student loans, and I think it was over $100,000 at 9 point something percent.
Oh my God.
And I remember we did the math because like
criminal.
she was paying a large amount every month when around the time we graduated, and it never seemed to go down. And we noticed, like, we did the math. If you took all the money she threw at it in a year, like, she wasn't paying principal until October.
Oof.
Like, let's just say, like, the first 10 months worth of paid, checks were just all interest. And that's terrible,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a problem, and I always share. My dad shared a story with me recently, and this is why I think I know that I was meant to start PeopleJoy and really tackle this problem, because so my parents came to this country in the 70s. They both went to Rutgers as well, Rutgers Newark, and my dad's paying his loans. He got his master's here as well as he's got a ton of student debt, and the same problem. He's like, I don't understand why I'm paying this every month, and the balance isn't going down. So he says, you know what? I'm not going to pay these anymore. Now, this is before I was born. This is before him and my mom were married. And so
She would not have been cool with that.
No, my mom's an accountant. She's the financially savvy one. And so he tells me, so they're planning for the wedding, and then the week before the wedding, he goes to his bank account he's got to put the deposits down, make the rest of the payments. He goes to his bank account, there's 1 penny left in there.
Uncle Sam.
And so they garnish your wages. If the government garnishes your wages, if they have access to your bank account, they have access to your paycheck, they have access to your Social Security check. There are folks who are retired who are getting their Social Security checks garnished for student debt. So
You don't mess with Uncle Sam.
People who are retired are getting their Social Security checks garnished over their student debt.
Right. Death taxes and student
That's
loan
how long it takes to pay these off.
Death taxes and student loan payments are pretty much what you're guaranteed in the United States. But so he's freaking out now because he's literally how do I pay for this wedding? And so my mom, again being the financially savvy one, ended up, they got it figured out. He called his lawyer. He figured out, they got it sorted out. But she essentially footed the bill for the wedding. Luckily, she's a loving, also financially savvy
forgiving
woman.
Awesome,
but I'm thinking, like, she could have easily turned around and said, you know what, screw you, you're broke. And I wouldn't be here today.
Wedding gone.
So student loans, right?
We're really grateful that she said yes.
I'm glad I am too.
It's one of those things in life that is such a monumental accomplishment when you finally pay these off. I was very fortunate. I was on full scholarship, so I only had to pay off my room and board, which I still to this day call the most expensive rent of my life.
Yeah.
But when I finally finished paying it off, there was no plaque that came in the mail.
Right.
I wanted somebody to just pat me on the back and be like, wow.
Good job.
Good job. Because, you think about it and it's just like, wow, it's on the level of getting married, buying a house, you finally get this monster off your back.
Right.
Yeah, nobody cares.
And so we care, right? And so one of the things we're able to do through our platform is essentially track those payments. So we're seeing when those payments get made. So as that balance goes to zero, giving people that gratification of rewarding them and saying, congratulations.
Yeah, you should too.
You've done that. And not only that, but okay, you've been conditioned to paying this $300, $400, $500, $1,000 a month already. Why don't you continue that? But put that towards retirement, put that towards a savings account instead of just going out and spending it. So just conditioning yourself you've already budgeted yourself through that student debt. A lot of folks don't do that, though.
After the massive party you throw.
Right. After the
You gotta throw the massive party the one time.
Exactly.
No, but it's like when you pay off your car, that payment goes away, and you should just put that right into your savings. Continue that $300, $400, whatever it is a month, just suck it away.
Right.
But
We have
usually-
lifestyle inflation.
Right.
We have
I like that. Lifestyle
The minute you
inflation.
get a salary increase or you pay something off, your lifestyle rises to what you make, and that's why we have folks on our platform. We have doctors, you have lawyers, you have people who make really great money but are still living paycheck to paycheck. Because-
we don't live beneath our means. We used to as a country, but we don't anymore.
It's a downer.
Wow. It's really depressing. Okay.
On that note,
On
right?
that note, I think we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to play a game.
Cool.
And we're back, and it is time to play a game called Awful or Awesome. What's going to happen is I'm going to name 3 things in quick succession, and we have to decide if they are awful or awesome and defend your answers. Are you ready, gentlemen?
Let's do it.
All
Let's
right.
go.
First up, documentaries.
Documentaries are awesome.
Awesome.
I agree. Oh my gosh, really? All 3 of us love documentaries?
Yeah. I'm
That's
a film
kind of
fan. I don't
random.
discriminate on the genre, so yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
Any recent faves?
Recent faves? I don't know. I haven't.
All right.
It's been a while since I've seen anything I really liked. I loved Exit Through the Gift Shop. That was a while ago, though. And The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters. And let's say another favorite would be like He Named Me Malala. So
Wow.
Yeah.
All mine are like Ken Burns. I'm lame.
those are long, though,
I
right?
know. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. So this holiday break, I actually had a chance to take a little bit of a break and binge watch some Netflix.
Nice.
Nice.
And one of the things I really watched recently, it was a Netflix series on ancient civilizations. So you got to see Mayan culture, Roman Empire,
Nice.
Greek empires, and just sort of see how different civilizations came about, and all the sort of controversy behind it. It was literally like watching Game of Thrones, where you just, the history books when you're in school, they really only show the surface, but then you see all the cutthroat things that happen behind the scenes. So it was really interesting just to see how these different civilizations 2,000, 3,000 years ago were super advanced, and some of the innovations that they were able to come up with. So I'm a history buff. I love watching old.
Me too. I got to check that out.
Yeah, so it's really great.
All right, cool. Yeah. The one that I love and I go back to every once in a while is the Civil War. Ken Burns' Civil War. God, that was an amazing, amazing piece of filmmaking.
I'll have to check it out.
You've never seen it?
No, again, the length.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. So one of the ways that I got through it was that I do a lot of sewing, and so I would have it on in the background while I was listening to it, and I would be sewing at the same time. But I will never forget the story that he told about Manassas, which is where the Civil War started. It's close enough to D.C. that spectators took picnics to Manassas because everybody knew that it was going to happen, like it was going to start, like that was the weekend that the fight was going to start. Spectators took horses and carriages and picnics and their families to watch the start of the Civil War, and it did not go well.
Yeah, I would imagine.
It did not go well, right?
This is pre-Netflix. There's
Right.
not a lot of options for your entertainment.
Right, and of course Washington was considered a northern city, and so these spectators were northerners, and it did not go well for the north, and then so suddenly the northerners are routed and the southerners are winning, and you've got these spectators who are jumping on their horses and trying to get out of Dodge and not getting very far because the southerners were like, I'm going to take that horse now because I can, and I've got a gun, and you're going to get out of there, and you're going to walk back to Washington, D.C. from Manassas, Virginia.
That's actually better than I thought this story was going to end. I thought
yes.
people were going to get musketed and.
Well, there were no muskets, but yeah, there were definitely probably a lot of civilian deaths.
Okay.
I think, you're right. I was thinking bayonet. No, you're right. There were muskets.
I was thinking about that too. I was thinking about somebody getting stabbed just because they came to watch the show.
There were
Mine was the
swords,
same.
but I don't think there were bayonets, but yeah, muskets.
Wow.
Okay.
Definitely civilian deaths, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
So,
not a great idea to take a picnic to a war.
extreme spectator.
I know, right? All right, the next one is magic shows.
Ooh.
I don't know.
I don't know if I have an awful or awesome. I would say we'll go with awesome, but they could be bad and they can be great. I watched one on Netflix years ago, and I wish I remember the name of the guy who did it, but he was a comedian, I guess, because he was deliberately bad at magic. So he got on the stage and he brought his, person up, and he'd be like, here, pick a card. And, she took the card and he goes, okay, remember what that card was. So then he throws all the cards up in the air, takes out a knife and stabs one of the card and shows it to her. And he's like, is this your card? And she goes, no. He's like, yeah, but wouldn't that be wild if that was it? Yeah, and then there was like another time where he was putting all these razor blades in his mouth and like all this blood is coming out and he's like, I'm not going anywhere with this. Like, you know, this was a bad idea. You know?
That's terrible.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I would say awesome.
Yeah.
So, I grew up on the, David Blaine, and a lot of those sort of public displays of magic. So those are always awesome.
Yeah. I kind of agree. I love the kiddie magic shows, like when somebody's come in and you can watch a bunch of kids be like, whoa, like that's really fun. I don't love the David Blaine's because I feel like I don't want to go to Vegas and pay actual money to see somebody do magic. Like if it's free on TV, but then if it's free on TV, I'm like, something's up.
You gotta support
like special
people,
effects, I don't know.
All right.
But whenever I think about magic shows, I think of Job from Arrested Development, and it always makes me smile, so I guess I gotta go with awesome.
I was just thinking of Penn and Teller had a show like a couple years ago, and I don't know if they still do it, where magicians would come on the show and try to trick them. Like, you'd be like, oh, where's this water bottle? Where did it go? And they'd be like, wait a minute, I just saw you throw that over the side. Only far more complicated magic than that. And like, I guess the weird thing about it was like, they didn't want to reveal the secrets because, magic is a very like close-knit thing. So like the whole show would consist of like somebody doing a magic trick and you would win money, I guess, if you were able to trick them. And they'd be like, no, we know what you did. Move on. And I'd be like, that's kind of a con right there. Like, they could just be like, oh yeah, we know what you did there, and maybe not, but...
They'd have to cut to commercial and sit...
Maybe. I wonder if they, like, went over to them and like, and
right.
Oh yeah, that's how I did it.
Oh my god. All right. Last one, video games.
Video games are awesome.
What do you think?
Awesome.
Really? Both of you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I get too competitive. Like, I had to cut myself off.
That's what makes them awesome.
I don't know. I used to throw controllers against the wall until they would rattle. Right, I would rage quit. And it wasn't even, like, a lot. I would obsessively play Super Mario Brothers.
Great game.
Until I got to, like, the 9th level. I think, like, 9
There were 8, but I'll give you that, whatever.
I'm sorry, level 8. Why 8 levels? That's so arbitrary. But anyway, I would get to the very end and I couldn't make that last jump over and over and over again, and I finally just lost it. And ever since then, I'm like, video games don't always bring out the best in people. I'm gonna cut myself off from that. I don't need that stress in my life.
Wow, what are your favorites?
Yeah, so I'm just
gonna go past that.
Fine.
It's, I think video games, especially, just sort of they've advanced to the point where, if you look at some of these new Xbox 360s, etc., I look at some of them, there's like 30 buttons on the controller.
Yeah.
It seems so complicated. I like more of the mobile app games. So
Okay.
I'm more of a, Candy Crushes, the puzzles, the kind of single tap sort of mobile phone game.
I can get into that.
That to me is more
Is
my
that a video
speed
game?
now.
Do we consider that
I
a video
count those
game?
as video games, absolutely.
I am all about video games then.
I think the mobile phone is has the computing power.
It's a controller in your pocket.
Super Nintendo or even an Xbox. Just kind of the sophistication there. So I put mobile app games into that
Love
video
it.
game genre, and I think in fact it's opened video games up to a broader set of people than you typically think of a video game, or you're thinking of a 60-year-old kid in his basement somewhere playing Metal Gear, or something, Metal Gear Solid or something like that. But I think with the mobile phone now, it's opened it up to a lot of people.
Yeah, I'll be a diehard Mario Kart and Diablo fan until the day I die. But one of the things that I've gotten into a lot recently, you mentioned that they've come a long way in their development. Now we're at a point where they can tell us deep stories through these things, and stories where, you can just kind of like kick back like you're watching Netflix and you make a choice. Like, you've got a character and somebody says something to your character gets a few options in what they can say back. And whatever you choose drives the story in that direction.
Choose your own story.
Yeah, exactly. Like, more so than just like in the past where maybe like, all right, do we do option A or option B, jump to page 58? Like, this is like, you have different options for your personality that you're building and all that, and the story just adapts to like what you're doing. If you ever want to get into something like that, I would recommend this to everyone on the planet. Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1 is a masterpiece in choosing your own adventure storytelling. You can get it on your mobile phone, you can get it on anything that runs like software these days, PC, everything.
That's awesome.
So check it out, Walking Dead Season 1. It's not the same thing as The Walking Dead show. definitely like by the same, like it's in the same copyright. It's not like just coincidentally named. But you don't have to have seen the show.
Copyright
It's different
infringement.
characters altogether, so that your character does what your character wants them to do. Yeah.
Are they the same characters?
No. Glenn makes an appearance, I think, in the beginning, and then after that, it's just unique characters. Because if you think about it, you don't want to be beholden to having Rick act like Rick. So, like, if you're making decisions that are not Rick-like, then it becomes less and less The Walking Dead.
Sure.
So you want it to be your own story, and, yeah.
Interesting.
If you want to be the jerk and everybody in your team hates you, and in the end, when you're like getting swarmed by zombies, no one comes to help you, that can be your story. Or you can be the nice guy and help everybody out and go out of your way, and then in the end, you've got like a whole team. Like that's the kind of thing you can do. Yeah.
That sounds really cool.
It is really cool. You should check it out.
I'm not gonna do that.
You should totally.
I'm not gonna do that.
Because it's one of those things. Like Netflix recently got into the game. They made that movie Bandersnatch not that long ago. Like I want to say by the time this airs a couple months ago,
Okay.
It was a choose your own adventure Netflix movie,
Right.
and they gave you option A, option B, and you would just like on your remote pick like whichever. But this is a lot better than that. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
All right. Well, I think that was the game.
sure. All right, so yeah, Emeka, what's one piece of advice you'd give to your younger self?
It's a
It's a deep question.
deep
It
question.
is.
And and it's funny because it's I think every year you have your New Year's resolutions and it gives you time to reflect. And so I think if I could go back and tell my younger self anything, it would just be to take more risk, especially early on. I think when I was in my 20s, it was really focused on sort of following
Compound interest.
compound interest,
That's how I spent my
paying off
20s.
debt,
Oh my gosh.
buying savings bonds. Grew up too fast.
Yes.
Really focused on just sort of following what I guess was a prescribed life path at the time, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think taking more risk, and somebody gave me a quote once where risks only look genius when they make sense, right? Everything is insane when it works out, right? And then if it doesn't work out, people think you're insane. If it does work out, you're a genius. So being comfortable with people looking at you and saying like, hey, why are you taking that risk? Why are you walking away from a stable job or this big brand business, et cetera? Just knowing that if it works out, everyone's going to thank you for it. And if it doesn't, they're going to look at you insane anyway. So just being comfortable with who you are, I think that just comes with time and wisdom. But if I could, again, go back in time and talk to myself, it would just be take a little more risk.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Anything you want to promote coming up or that your company does or anything like that?
Yeah, so, again, as I mentioned, student loan repayment assistance is something that we offer for employers that want to make a contribution. However, we also offer a tool that doesn't require an employer contribution. We know that many employers want to participate but may not necessarily be able to cover the funding costs. So we actually have a virtual assistance tool. Think of it as an artificially intelligent student loan counselor.
Wow.
Where you
that's
can
awesome.
actually, as an employee, upload your student loans to this tool, and we'll let you know what you're eligible for within the federal loan programs. We'll actually take a step forward and enroll you in those programs. So do all that paperwork. So when I mentioned earlier about people getting rejected for incorrect paperwork or not knowing what loan programs they should be in, we handle all that for them end to end. And that's something where they can go onto our website and get a free analysis of what they're eligible for with our on our website. So that's something that we think we want to make available to everybody. It doesn't require an employer contribution. It's free for the analysis, and it helps you identify what you're eligible for on the federal loan program side, and actually helps you enroll in those programs.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So you
Wow.
sold me, but let's say I'm an employer out there and I want to know how I can get involved, get this going at my company. How do I get in touch with you guys?
So you can go on our website at www.peoplejoy.com, or you can email us at hello@peoplejoy.com.
That's so
I like that.
friendly. It's not
We're-
info at, it's
We're
hello.
happy people. We're People
I
Joy.
like
right?
that.
It's people, PeopleJoy.com.
Okay.
That's awesome. Okay, I think that might be our show.
That's our show.
This was really fun. Thank you to our listeners, especially our
This is always fun.
No, you're right, it is. But I feel like I really learned something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you to our listeners, especially the subscribers. We appreciate the support. Thank you to New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, the official sponsor of the show. They do home, auto, and workers' comp, so check them out. And finally, thanks to Emeka Oguh of PeopleJoy for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
It was a pleasure. Thank you. All right. See you next time. Bye.